Hey there, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making a dish that represents everything I've learned from English B30. All the knowledge that I've acquired throughout the semester will take the form of lasagna. Let's do this. Okay, so when cooking, there's this concept of mise en place, which is a common practice which means to prepare everything before cooking. It's much like finding your identity. You can't find yourself without knowing what you like, what you hate, and what you dream of achieving. You have to prepare yourself. Step 1. Preheat your pan with some olive oil. Olive oil is a pure oil that's extracted and filtered. It represents the poem we read, I am not I, which symbolizes being extracted and filtered from the expectations of society. It connects to the theme of the search for self. The poem explores the idea of learning who you are as a person, rather than who you are when people are watching. It addresses elements of self-discovery and the struggle of fitting in. In the poem, it states, I am this one, walking beside me whom I do not see. This passage highlights how the desperation of fitting in blinds us at times to the point where we go against our own values and beliefs. Additionally, it also explores themes of societal expectations and pressure. The poem reveals how people behave when exposed to the expectations of others. We are controlled by the hypothetical fear of how we think people will perceive us. Step 2. Cook your meat. The meat in lasagna is the foundation. Its purpose is to flesh it out. This is like the Lord of the Flies, which explores the theme of the social experience, which fleshes your identity out. Lord of the Flies analyzes the behavior of people when in social groups. The two communities on the island, Ralph's civilized democracy and Jack's savage dictatorship, shows us how communities influence behavior. The descent to savagery on the island highlights how communities affect a person. When Ralph possessed most of the power, there was order and cooperation, but when Jack took over, there was only blood and death. It proves how social pressures of fitting in are so great that people only do or agree with something because the vast majority does too. Lord of the Flies proves that the communities that you belong to help shape your beliefs and morals, but it also shows how quickly people can change when they feel at risk at being alienated. Step 3. Throw in your seasoning. Seasoning is the soul of food. It determines the taste of the final product. People would consider physical looks to be our seasoning, but they're not. The poem My Mistress's Eyes refers to the standards of society that molds people into something they never wanted to be. It explores stereotypical characteristics that society defines as beautiful. Connecting with the social experience, it represents societal expectations. Shakespeare puts down his mistress when comparing her to set social standards that are deemed to be what is considered beautiful. The standards that society and other people set are completely subjective and are not true. It shows how people affect people by forcing their standards on others, but in reality, what a person should look or act like is entirely dependent on the person themselves, not external validation from others. Step 4. Pour in your sauce and let it simmer. The sauce completely transforms the dish by reconstructing the meat. Like the sauce, my novel study, They Cage the Animals at Night, represents the reconstruction of oneself. The book explores Jennings' experience as a child without a stable home. It addresses the search for self. Jennings spends most of his time in orphanages and foster homes. It is through these homes that Jennings learns about belonging versus isolation and the value of the relationships. Despite being surrounded with kids with similar situations, Jennings couldn't feel any more alone. He realizes that being surrounded by people doesn't mean you are at home. Sometimes you can still feel completely isolated. He sees that it's the relationships you create that make you feel at home. It is through these hardships that Jennings learns how to find and reconstruct himself. Home isn't defined by a place but by the people you care about. True relationships are valuable and are essential to growing and finding yourself. Step 5. Boil your noodles. Okay, we're almost done. We have to prepare our noodles, which provide structure to our lasagna. An identity structure is built on the search for self, which Hamlet does best. Hamlet addresses the difficult journey of self-discovery. He struggles to find himself within all the chaos. Throughout the play, Hamlet is plagued with melancholic thoughts and indecision. He struggles to find his identity and overanalyzes everything. Hamlet's chaotic journey to self-discovery was both necessary but also destructive. He found his true beliefs and values, but by remolding himself, he was shattering the reality that he once knew. It is evident that identity is not built off thoughts alone, but through actual experiences as well, which is something Hamlet struggled to do. Hamlet explores the complex and difficult journey of self-discovery, proving that the process of finding yourself is chaotic and difficult, but is only possible by both deeply analyzing oneself and actually going out there. Step 6. Layer and add your cheeses. Alright, we're almost done. Let's start off with adding our Parmesan cheese. It has that sharp flavor. Much like that sharpness, How to Shoot an Elephant represents the sharpness of peer pressure through the theme of the social experience. This essay explores societal pressures and alienation. In the essay, the intense racism that the officer faces leads to the sense of alienation. It was through the pressure of the mob's bloodthirsty eyes that led him to shooting the elephant. The man confesses, "I often wondered whether anyone understood that I had done it solely to avoid looking a fool." This is how people affect people. Despite knowing that shooting the elephant was not the best choice, the officer only did it because it would please the mob. It goes to show how strong the human desire to fit in is that people ignore their morals for a chance of acknowledgement. Next is the ricotta, which is rich and creamy. Similarly, the short story, The Story of an Hour, is rich with meaning. It represents how forcefully assigned roles chain you down, robbing you of your dreams and ambitions. The Story of an Hour shows how the social experience conflicts with the theme of the search of self. In everyone's eyes, Kate is devastated over her husband's death, but in reality, she is ecstatic because their marriage was like a prison. Ironically, the apparent death of her husband brought her hope. It was a chance at a new chapter to relight her ambition, a chance for her to find herself. The husband represents social expectations and is represented through the mistreatment of women. It shows how the pressure of the social experience negatively affects a person's search of self through given roles, prejudice, and social expectations built on racism and sexism. Finally, we have our mozzarella, which will be represented through the short story The Chaser. This is the opposite of The Story of an Hour, where it represents a person's desire to fit in despite the harm they may cause. The Chaser and The Story of an Hour are two sides of the same coin. In this short story, it explores the social experience more in depth and a person's desire to fit in no matter the consequences. This story represents the race of fitting in. People who are trying to find themselves often fill that void by finding a relationship, but they come in with skewed expectations. They end up realizing that their partner isn't a panacea and get frustrated. Additionally, Alan also represents society and how it shames us for not fitting in. Social media, expectations, and other people all subconsciously affect how we grow, and rather than growing independently, we grow as individuals who cater to the eyes of others. The Chaser shows the reality of belonging and the difference between finding yourself versus fitting in. Alright, all we have to do now is throw it in the oven. There you have it, a delicious lasagna. All these ingredients complement each other. The Lord of the Flies, My Mistress's Eyes, How to Shoot an Elephant, and The Chaser all work together to represent the social experience. They show how relationships and communities can influence your growth and how societal expectations and other people can hinder your growth. On the flip side, I Am Not I, They Cage the Animals at Night, Hamlet, and The Story of an Hour represent the search for self. They show the difficult but necessary journey of finding oneself and the various roadblocks that come with it. If there's anything I learned, it's that finding yourself is a difficult journey. It will be difficult and strenuous, but it is necessary in order to survive in today's world. But it is also a journey where you are not alone. Everyone is trying their best to find their spot in this world. Thanks for watching my video. Until next time.